Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. It's the Friday night show and we're going to hit it straight from the start because we do have a bit of an update on the sale of Manchester United. Also Mason Mount, imminent, deal done, here we go. It's basically done. We'll talk about that in a moment, but Mason Mount will be a Manchester United player very, very, very soon. Also, is Garnacho going to be Manchester United's new number 7? We'll talk about that as well. Plus, it's Friday night, kick back, have a drink. Doesn't matter whether it's alcoholic or not. Have a few snacks. We're having a good time. It's relaxed time on the United Stand Friday night show. Or so you thought, because we're actually going to start off with something that might raise your blood pressure a little bit. Because the Glazers are still entertaining bids from prospective buyers. We are not in a position where some people last week said they've got a really good source and it's deal done, and it's not deal done, because publicly, privately and officially, the doors are still open to Sir Jim and anyone else that wants to put a bid in. And that's where we are with Manchester United. So look, let's get straight into this. But first of all, I want to just say this. I do want to just say this. The date today is the 23rd of June. And Schumacher, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Got a message for the members, actually, in a minute. Hi, Mark. Keep up the good work, says Lee. It's the 23rd of June. The sale of Manchester United, or prospective sale, or whatever you want to call it, was announced in late November. It's the 23rd of June. I expected the sale process to take at least 6 months. But I expected them to have announced a sale before that 6 months. We are 6 months later and we do not know who's buying Manchester United. That is ridiculous. I was looking at the date today, the 23rd of June, and it will be the end of June in a week. And we will not know who United's new owners are going to be. And at the end of June, the transfer window's well and truly open. You know, a lot of deals have been done. And we won't have a new owner. And we won't have a new owner when we go on tour. It just simply cannot happen. We will not have a new owner when we go on tour. We will most likely not have a new owner when we play the first game of the season against Wolves. And there is a chance we will not have a new owner when the transfer window closes. This is absolutely abysmal, disgusting, disgraceful, incompetent, ridiculous, greedy, mercenary bastards. It's absolutely disgusting. It really is. That on the 23rd of June, in the middle of a very, very important transfer window, Manchester United are still locked into the same conversations they were having in January. Do we want Althani? Do we want Sir Jim? Do we want a little bit more money? And that's literally where we're at. I know there's this comments coming out from Reuters about the Glazers will still entertain 11th hour bids from Althani and from Sir Jim. They also said that at the moment, on paper, it looks like Qatar are slightly ahead. But that's where we were a week ago. That's what the share price was all about. That's why Qatar were trying to get exclusivity. There is no breaking news this Friday night because, unfortunately, it's exactly where many of you feared it would be. There is no breaking news. There is no new news. Not going to lie, feel so flat now after this news, says Chris. But it's not new news. Lachlan, welcome to the Members Club. This is not new news. This is where we're at. We've been talking about this for a long time. The door has been open for 6 months and it's still open now. The Glazers are still welcoming and encouraging new bids. Last 2 weeks ago, probably to the day, Althani put his 5th bid in. And that bid was very competitive and it's put him ahead of Sir Jim. But 4 weeks ago, Sir Jim was winning. What's stopping Sir Jim putting another bid in at any moment and putting himself back in the front? And then what stops Althani putting a bid in 2 weeks' time to put himself back in the front? All we know is that at the moment, Qatar is slightly ahead and Althani is trying to get the Glazers to work exclusively on his bid so that no more bids can come in. But at the moment, the Glazers will not do that and are still saying to Sir Jim, the door's open for another bid. That is where we are. You might not like it. You might feel Qatari. You might like Sir Jim. You might think we're close to the end. I would say to you, What are you drinking that you think we're close to the end? Is it just a hunch? Is it because somebody's told you they've got a source? I mean, as for these sources, I hoped they were right last week. But let's be honest on these sources telling people that the deal's done. I felt we were moving towards something last week. There was enough reports. I thought the share price was indicative, but I didn't say it was deal done. I felt we were heading towards that, but I didn't say, oh, there's a source or this, that, and the other, because there is no source. This is not transfer news. This is a business deal with NDAs and an owner. Follow the Glazers. If you're worried about a crap transfer window, you're probably right. If you think the Glazers are greedy and are going to play Althani against the gym, you're right. We are not there yet. And that is where we are. If we sign Hoyland, have you thought about getting him on the show and doing an interview with him, considering he follows you and knows who you are, says Brett. I know. There's a few United players who know who I am and talk to me, but I don't think they'll come on and do an interview. I'll console myself with a jar of mayo. Sometimes I like to eat it like yogurt, says Rory. Oh dear. Currently having a KFC while the Glazers are on coke, says Taco. And it sounds like what Ben Jacobs said about the deal being far from done was accurate. People on the chat who insulted him should apologise, says Stephen. Very, very true. Very, very true. Stephen, actually, I had Ben Jacobs on the show and he was saying it wasn't close and people were getting pissed off with him and, he was right. He was right. But none of us like that news, do we? None of us like the delay news. But Mark, you said it will be sold this week. You're a joke, says Shane. No, I didn't. And if I did say that, Shane, I would have said it was a prediction and a hunch. I've never said I've got an inside source on this because I haven't. And I don't need to lie. And I don't need to pretend. And I don't need to, pretend I've got an insider on this deal so that if I do guess correctly, I can go agent bridge. I don't do that. I have information on transfers and players, but I don't have information on this sale other than what I get told from journalists and what I read and what comes out from the club. And I'll tell you officially from Manchester United Football Club. Do you want to know the official line from Manchester United on the sale? Do you want to know the official line from our football club that they are officially putting out there? Man United's official line is nothing to report at the moment. The process is still ongoing and open. There you go. Hi Mark, on yesterday's discussion, renew owners influencing transfers, there are antitrust laws that would prevent them from doing so, even if the Glazers were open to it. They can't do it, Cole. You're absolutely correct. Lee, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. A little off topic, but Ten Hag has to take the blame for downplaying the treble and saving our club legacy. We need to talk about it, says Prince. I think we spoke about it at the time, Prince. I don't think we need to go back talking about the treble. It's gone. It's happened. There we go. Why wants a membership? Can I just say about the members section, some of you might be aware already, a couple of weeks ago we were in Dublin. We did a live show. The first half of that live show went up on the members section a couple of weeks ago. The second half after the interval, the second hour of that Dublin show is now live on the channel on the members section. So give it a watch tonight or over the weekend. I watched it myself before I put it up. It was nice to listen back to it. It's there. If you're a member, you can see it on the members section. If you want to become a member, click the members section. Right, let's talk about Mason Mount. I will be going back to your questions because it's a Friday night, but let me just talk to you about Mason Mount. Where are we with Mason Mount? Well, I put a tweet out at about 4 o'clock today with a tick and a picture of Mason Mount in a Manchester United shirt. On transfers, it's a lot easier to get information, like NDAs, business, impact on share price. I'm sorry, there ain't somebody close to Sir Jim who's ringing up Gary Neville and saying, Gary, it's done. It's just not happening. That's just not happening. But somebody might ring Gary up who's an ex-England player and say, Gary, this deal's going to happen. On transfers, you can get hold of information. Where we are with Mason Mount. Kevin says, will the bank seriously let him take out more loans to acquire the club? Says Kevin. Glazers are just boring now. Hope you're well, Mark. Says Tumbleweed. Thank you very much, mate. And I'm one of those who scratch their heads trying to figure out how they build the pyramids, but I don't think we'll ever know the sale tactics, says Elliot. And Mojo's just gifted 10 memberships. What a absolute legend Mojo is. So, in relation to... let me just get rid of Jamie. Jamie, you don't need to unsubscribe. I'll block you. There you go. There you go. So Jamie said, I'm unsubscribing. It's a misleading channel. Jamie's a bit thick, unfortunately. So, misleading channel. Glazers want more bids. Mount deal tonight? ? Yeah, Jamie. Piss off and watch Glastonbury, you prat. What are you talking about? Misleading. We literally react to the news every show virtually, Jamie. It comes in from what you can read elsewhere. Knobhead, piss off. Friday night, I can say what I like. Bye-bye, Jamie. Go and find something that's a little bit more to your intellectual level. I would start with Spot the Dog. Three words per page, pictures of dogs, pushing balls about, words like the, and, you know, you'll be well happy with that. Anyway, let's move on. Mason Mount. This deal could have happened today. Mason Mount could have happened today. I think I put it on... I get confused. I think I put it on Twitter. This deal could happen... It still could happen today. We could get a here we go tonight. But it's really, really close. You don't need me to tell you that anyway. But this morning, when I said on Twitter the Mason Mount deal could happen today, that's because I was told this deal... You know, Chelsea are talking about this deal tonight. Personal terms are done. Mason Mount is done at Chelsea. Chelsea know he's done. He will not sign a new contract. He'll be a contract rebel. They've got to let him go. They've got to accept it. Man United have put a bid in of 50 plus 5 or 55 plus 6, 55 plus 5, one of the two. And Chelsea actually rejected our first two bids. This bid they're contemplating. There is an expectation that they will accept this bid, or if they don't accept this bid, there'll be one more round. I'd be very surprised if we come out, unless they're going to take the weekend off, and I don't know why they would. I think we will get here we go Mason Mount probably in the next 24 hours. It feels like it's that close because Chelsea, unless Chelsea reject it, I think we'll get here we go tonight or tomorrow because they're either going to accept this bid or reject it, and they haven't rejected it out of hand. So Mason Mount to Manchester United, this is not going to fall through. I put it in the 90% club a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people hoped that would jinx it, but it looks like the 90% club is going to get it right because this is going to happen now. It's not really a deal that Chelsea know they can reject long term, and there's nobody else competing with us. He wants to come to Manchester United. He is an Erik ten Hag high priority signing, and whether you want it to happen or you don't, he will be signing for Manchester United. And unfortunately, it looks like we're going to get a deal done before the end of the month, which would be quite good. Gareth says, the sale of Manchester United is a circus, signing players is a circus, and the Glazers a clown. It's all quite fitting, really, says Gareth. Thank you very much. The Glazers won't sell until there's 6 billion plus on the table mark, says Danny. So, yeah, how are you feeling about the Mason Mount deal? I think we have to accept that it's going to happen. I say that like I'm bothered. No, look, I've told you this before. In relation to Mason Mount, a few years ago, I just didn't get it. And then I started watching Chelsea a bit when they were decent. And I thought, you know what? Actually, he's a good player. He is a good player. And I never thought we'd see him at Man United. I've got to say I was shocked when Ten Hag went in for him. And he wouldn't be my pick, I'll be absolutely honest. And I don't think he'd be a lot of your picks. But I'm not on the page of the people who don't like Mason Mount and think it's a bad deal. I have seen a few people being quite vocal about it. I respect those people, but I disagree. I think Mason Mount offers something that Ten Hag really likes that maybe many of us haven't seen yet. Certainly we haven't seen it in the last season because he wasn't very good. So this is a player that Erik ten Hag really wants. He is a numero one target in a position. And I think if United get it done, which I'm sure they're going to now, it must be applauded. And then the pressure goes to the player and Ten Hag that they have to deliver. All I can say, and many of you have said it as well, is that the manager must be given their first choices. And in Mason Mount, he's getting his first choice, whether you like it or not. I wish we could have gone for Szoboszlai over Mount, says Dexter. And, hey, Mark, can you call big United fans to increase response to the delays, pundits, etc., says Massacre. Can Qatar buy the other 30% of shares to put pressure on the Glazers, says Amaric. I think you're getting creative in a way that, you know, I don't think that will help. I think we have to trust Erik ten Hag as Mount seems to be his first choice midfielder. I back the manager, says Dasbo. And it's looking like Mount's going to be the only signing on the tour. I was actually considering going to one of the games, but not anymore. I'll check MUTV, says Aaron. Well, no, Aaron. Again, I mean, look, you may have guessed right, but I actually do disagree with you there. I think there's a very big chance that we'll have more signings than that. Rory says, if Chelsea reject this offer, would you walk? You can't continually creep up by 5 million every time a bid gets rejected. I'd walk if they reject, says Rory. Good point. Good point. I think this bid's around 55, and I don't think we can go any higher than that. So I would walk, Rory, yes. But whether United would walk or not, I don't know. I would walk, yeah. I think if this gets rejected, there'll be a long delay because I think United will say they're going to walk and Chelsea and Man United might not get back around the table for a little bit. Chelsea need to move on with their season. Man United need to move on with theirs. And so does Mason Mount. So I think Chelsea will accept this. And I think the only delay will be if Chelsea say, let's think about it over the weekend and come back next week. Ultimately, I think they could decide tonight and it'll be announced later tonight or tomorrow. Do you think Mason Mount could be Erik ten Hag's first mistake as a manager? What's your percentage that you think he'll be a success as only Pokemon? We need a sale, please. You're a big influencer, even if people disagree, says Massacre. What do you want me to do, Massacre? I don't know what you want me to do. Energy Ninja, welcome to the Members Club. And should we just forfeit the first half of the season if there are no new owners? Also, is Mount really a priority if there's no ownership change? I feel we should prioritise a striker over him, says Harshid. Look, for whatever reason, we've prioritised Mason Mount. You can do that. We got Dan James first one summer. He wasn't the number one signing. For whatever reason, we've moved on Mason Mount really quickly. It's a good question. Is Mason Mount the number one target? He can't be really, but we have gone for him first, and that could be for a multitude of reasons. Do I think he's a risk? Of course he's a risk. I've said this to you for years. Every manager you can think of doesn't have a 70% success rate with transfers. It's universally accepted that any manager, from Pep Guardiola to Sam Allardyce, if you've got a 70% hit rate with transfers, you're doing a very good job. It's not, nobody gets near 80 or 90. It just doesn't happen. So at some point, Ten Hag will make mistakes on signings. Of course he will. And that's why you need a lot of them. Pep Guardiola had more goalkeepers and right backs before he got to the one he wanted. That's why small budgets aren't a good idea, because he's got to be allowed to make mistakes as well. Now, whether he'll be allowed to make mistakes by you or the media is a different thing, because, as I've said many times, it feels like there isn't that patience with Ten Hag because the media never wanted him. But he will make mistakes. Mason might be an average signing, he might be a bad signing, he might be a brilliant signing. Of course there will be mistakes. If you don't think he's going to make bad buys, you're a fool. If he gets Mason Mount, Rabiot, Højlund, Onana, and the Monaco centre-back, two of them probably flop. Just by the laws of percentages. So, yeah, look, he's had a really good first season. Eriksen did well. Malacia's developing well. Casemiro's been brilliant. Anthony's doing okay. And Martinez has done brilliant. I don't think you should ever judge a signing until 2 years in anyway, because I remember with Mourinho, Pogba, Bailly, Zlatan, even Mkhitaryan looked good after year one. By the end of year two, all of them were flops or gone. So you judge a transfer after 2 years anyway. But yeah, look, Mason Mount, I think a lot of people think this might be a mistake by Erik ten Hag. It could be an absolute super signing. I just don't understand how a midfield of Casemiro, Mount and Bruno can work. And if Mount isn't a starter, we shouldn't be spending 60 million on him, says HK in Music. David, welcome to the Members Club. And do you think Erik ten Hag prioritising Mount means he has finally accepted De Jong is never leaving? Latest on Onana and Højlund. Club sale is so frustrating, says Sad. Sorry, not Sad. It's Sid. It's Sad Sid. And again, another good question. Lee says United are arguing over 5 million. David Gleeson, welcome to Members Club. Chris says, do you think the sale is being delayed to get the current deals over the line first? Once we have rich owners, the price of our targets will go up. No, Chris, I don't. Jack says, I really hope we go all in for Onana. After watching him in the final, I feel like he'll revolution our style of play. He's a very, very good player. He's very good. And United are arguing over 5 million. The same 5 million we should have got by selling Itbel to a championship team instead of Utrecht. And Big Boy, welcome to the Members Club. And that super chat was from Lee Berman. Also, it's very busy in the chat tonight. People need to understand that Erik ten Hag wants players that can play in multiple positions, like in Ajax. Mount will be a success, says Amit. And what if we start playing Bruno at the false nine? Then we could get Mount and Eriksen in the midfield. Either Bruno or Højlund would do well at the false nine. So Stephen, Let's just remember, if Mount does flop, he would never have been the first choice for Ten Hag. Just the Glazers hindering another manager. Shocking, says Logan. Also, I'm asking for union for all United fans to object to the Glazers. I think you can do it, bro. Massacre, that's a 20 quid super chat. And I'm just going to tell you now, you've spent 3 super chats saying nothing. And I'm just helping you. Like, there is already unified United against Glazers. What, we can't do anything, mate. Look, we can't protest because the season's not even on. We can't do anything more. Everybody hates the Glazers. Everybody wants the Glazers out. They're still here. We can't do anything. We've been trying for years. People have tried all sorts of things. We can't do anything. I'm actually excited to see Mount. He had one off year. Remember, Rashford could be a masterstroke by Ten Hag, says Relaxing Station. And also, Andrew Fletcher has been a member for 10 months. Thank you, Andrew. Look, a few people have said there about playing Mount, Bruno and Casemiro in a midfield 3. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think in certain home games, absolutely fine. But when you go away from home and you play at Anfield or you play at the Etihad or Newcastle or the Emirates or even Brighton, you will get your arse kicked. Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes are not defensively good enough when you're up against it. If you want to press from the front and keep them in their own half, absolutely fine. But when you go to Anfield, you're not dominating possession. You're not dominating possession against the Etihad. You're going to counter. And when you've got Mount and Bruno in a midfield 3 where you're trying to counter, they're not defensively solid enough. So we have to bring another midfielder in. We have to. Whether it's Declan Rice, whether it's Rabiot, whoever, it's got to be a defensive-minded midfielder. I don't think this Mount, Bruno and Casemiro thing will work. And I would hope that Erik Ten Hag has learnt that lesson from last year, because we had a really good season, but we also got annihilated by 4 or 5 teams because we went away from home and decided to just play Casemiro as the holding midfielder. It won't work. Also, we've got Glenny Boy says next Wednesday at the shareholders meeting in New York, the minority shareholders will hopefully make it clear to the Glazers that they need to sell now. Could be a very important meeting, Glenny. And Connor says, Mark, is the Mount signing the end for Eriksen? Says Connor. No, not at all. What the Mason Mount signing does is push Eriksen to a role that he probably should be playing now at a top club, which is a rotational role. He shouldn't be starting every single game in a midfield 2 with Casemiro. Eriksen, for me, I would like to see him playing more advanced. I'd be rotating him with Bruno. We know he can do that number 8 role every now and again. I think Eriksen just becomes what's really important. You know, he becomes a player that is part of a squad. And I think that's what Erik Ten Hag wants to have, options. Massacre says, I know I spent a lot. Hope you can start a movement. Anyway, thoughts on Iqbal Sale, thoughts on Hannibal's future. Thank you very much, mate. Thanks for your super chat. Well, Iqbal we've spoken about. He's gone. And Hannibal probably will go. And I spoke about this last night. Basically, Manchester United will not pick world-class player, will not promote youth players unless they're going to be world-class. Hi, Mark. The missus is not happy you are once again on the TV, but I'm sure she will learn to love it, as I know I now love the United stand, says Andrew. Great stuff, Andrew. And I'm just glad we don't need to start Eriksen, says United Elijah. I still think Christian Eriksen's a good player for Man United. I thought he was absolutely dreadful at the end of the season. Pretty much came back from his injury and never played well again. Was abysmal in the FA Cup final. But I still like him, and I still think he's a really important player for us, and we shouldn't sleep on that. Joe says he becomes Mata, the bench option that will eventually wither away. And there's nothing wrong with that. You've got to have... Look, if Eriksen goes to bench, the bench gets stronger. We need a stronger bench. So, look, I think it's been so long since we've been in this position that some of our fans and some of our community always want to solve a problem. What happens to Eriksen if we get Mason Mount? What will he do? Oh my God, somebody think of Eriksen. And I'm like, look at Man City's bench. Look at Chelsea's bench. It's full of quality. Stick Eriksen on the bench. What if Martial's on the bench as well? Garnacho's on the bench. You know, Rabiot's on the bench. The Monaco centre-back's on the bench. Malassia's on the bench. We're building a good bench. You know, so it doesn't bother me. If you want to compete with Man City, you need 16, 17 players that are good enough to start. And some of them will always be on the bench. Imagine how good the transfer windows would be if we had competent board and owners. This news is so boring, but what can we do, says Abraham? We can't do anything. We can't do anything. let's move on from Mason Mount. We might come back to it. What is the situation with Muani? Love the shows as always. Thanks for news and entertainment, says Sam. So Muani's an Eintracht Frankfurt French forward. He's up for sale. He's always been in Ten Hag's shortlist, and he still is there. Harry Kane's and Osman aren't gettable. So really, I would say Muani and Højlund are the two. I would get both. We've got a limited budget. We won't do that, I don't think. I would get both. I'd be over the moon with Muani and Højlund. I think people forget that even if you've got Erling Haaland up front, even if you've got Lewandowski up front, if they're not having a good game after 70 minutes, it's a good idea to be able to bring a different type of striker on. And I would love to have Højlund and Muani at United. And I think Erik Ten Hag would quite like it as well. But has he got the money to do that? There are a few stories around Højlund that Atalanta wants £80 million. This is a crock of shit. It's not true. We can do a deal with Atalanta for Rasmus Højlund, and it will be somewhere around 60, 70 million. And it will include add-ons. We could do 40 plus 20. We could do 50 plus 20. And they will do it. We paid them stupid money for Ahmad, and there is this belief that we'll pay stupid money for Højlund. We won't do it. And they know they won't get away with that again. We can do a deal for Højlund. I don't know what we're doing around the striker at the moment. I know he wants to come to us, and I know Erik Ten Hag wants him. But David De Gea was signing a new contract for 3 months, and now he's not. It's weird what United are doing at the moment, which is why I take some comfort in the fact that Mason Mount's about to sign, because I think if we waited another week, we'd be signing James Ward-Prowse instead. We're just all over the place at the moment. The FA Cup final was the last straw for me, says United Elijah. I think Mount could be our Henderson type signing. Hear his name, don't get excited, but he's neat and tidy and works hard for the team, says Levi. At what point do you think the Glazers will have to face the music, the sale process, given the construction of the stadium and the training grounds, says Ben? Well, at no point. At no point will the Glazers face the music, because they've been absolutely abysmal owners for nearly 20 years. Hi, Mark. Just want to know if you have given up on Sancho. No, I haven't. I haven't, big boy. I haven't. I'm a fan of Sancho. I think it looks hard for him. Mark, is the Mount signing the end of Ericsson? We've done that one. I tell you what, Fennick's just gifted 5 memberships. You're a legend, Fennick. And I like Onana, but does he have the right mentality for United? I recall him failing a drug test during his Ajax days, says FIFA Crazy. Mate, he's just been the star in a Champions League final. I think he's got the mentality. I'm absolutely baffled as to why we aren't going for Casido. Press resistant and can also play in a pivot with Casemiro in away games. By the way, I love United stand, says Attar. And I'm going to remain positive. Even if Sir Jim Radcliffe puts another United bid in, Sheikh Jim is not going to let Sir Jim get ahead. There's always the January window, says Nigel. I think that's, I know we've spoken about the sale, but I think that's a good point, Nigel. I think if Sir Jim puts another bid in, Althani will come back with another bid anyway, which will be music to the Glazers' ears. But I wouldn't. I think last week it was very exciting, and I still stand by it. What was coming out from credible outlets about exclusivity, the share price, it looked like something was going to happen. And I think what happened is Qatar wanted exclusivity, and the Glazers said no. And now that they've said no, it's gone back to how it was. I know the transfer window looks bleak, but the players we are linked to is promising under Ten Hag. Mount, Onana, the strikers. What a great manager, says Ryan. Gifted membership from Lee Berman. You're a legend, Lee. Anything you can do with your platform to push Glazers. Also, favourite academy players, bro. You did block me on Twitter. Made me sad. I'm going to block you on here in a minute, Massacre, because you clearly don't watch. I want to be nice because it's a nice community, but you clearly don't watch the channel because you keep asking stuff that we've spoken about loads of times, and you keep slowing down the flow of the show. And I'm trying to keep it upbeat because I know what our community will do. You want to be careful, very, very careful. In relation, I'm not threatening you, by the way. The share price for United has dropped a lot recently. Anyway, it's come down to $22.90. Somebody just asked about that. And I think that just comes down to the fact that there's uncertainty on when this deal will happen and if it will happen. Ari Bill, welcome to the Members Club. Also, hello Mark, thoughts on Garnacho getting the 7 shirt? We're going to talk about that next, Toro. Shahin says, do you think we should be more focused on players' ages? Ericsson played 1 season and people already talk about him being the next Mata. Squad's getting old. I just want to say, age is but a number. people want to sign Harry Kane and he's 30. So age is a number, and it depends how you look after yourself and your own body physics as to how long you can play for. Look at Modric. Eriksen should be able to play till he's 35. He's not particularly fast anyway. He's a finesse player. So Eriksen shouldn't be declining at 31. I'm sorry. Anyway, favourite academy players, says Massacre. Okay. Rabiot plus Mount plus Højlund plus Ahmad plus goalkeeper. 8 out of 10 window, says Kyle. Why are we signing Ahmad again? We're not. Don't give Murta an idea. He'll bloody sign Ahmad from Sunderland and they'll keep quiet and we'll pay 30 million quid. We're not signing Ahmad. He already plays for us. United Elijah, welcome to Members Club. You know what? I don't think I've said this before. You know Mason Mount? Is it bothering people with Mason Mount that he's a Chelsea player? I've never really thought about it, but when he starts scoring goals for United, he does bleed blue. He has been at Chelsea since he was a kid. A lot of Chelsea fans are very surprised that he's leaving. Do you think that's a barrier? Which he will break through when he starts scoring goals. But do you think psychologically, for those fans that don't really want Mount, do you think it's because he's a Chelsea player? And he's, Chelsea through and through, Chelsea boy. He's always loved that club. It's very surprising he's leaving, actually. But, maybe that's a bit of a problem for some people. But look, my antidote to that would be Robin van Persie. That he was a Man United player very, very quickly. And he wasn't an Arsenal player anymore. Will United still be a publicly traded club after the sale, says Brandon? I don't know. Don't think so. And if we don't win the league in 2-3 seasons, do you think Bruno will leave us for Barcelona or Madrid? Says Levi. Do you think that Barcelona or Real Madrid would want Bruno now? Do you think he's at that level where they would want him? I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I don't know. Interesting. There's a guy on Twitter. Let me just give him a shout out. At patron_MUFC. He's just bullet pointed the latest situation from the Reuters update. Sheikh Jassim bid is slightly ahead. All options are still on the table. All options are still being considered. We're still at status quo, which means we're still where we have been for a long time. Glazers haven't made their decision yet. There is no exclusivity. All parties are still in the mix. Don't discount Sir Jim Radcliffe's chances. Possibility of further bids which could change the equation. Talks are ongoing. We are heading towards the end game. It's 3-2 Jassim at the moment, says that's all coming in from Reuters. You know what? It's basically what I said at the start. It's basically what we've been talking about most of this week. I think last week, what was that? Why do people keep nicking my ideas as well? I've heard loads of journalists. Remember when I said on Monday night last week when the share price shot up and I said this latest bid, it's basically 2-0 to Qatar with 10 minutes to go. And now all you get is it's 3-2. It's 3-1. It's this, that, and the other. Everybody just keeps doing it as a football thing. That's our thing. We started it. Do a hockey score or cricket. You're not doing football scores. That was our idea. But you know what? It's interesting, isn't it? Because there is an update on the score. I think last week it was 2-0 with 10 minutes to go. And from where we are a week and a half later, I think it's fair to say that Sir Jim's pulled one back. I'd say it's 2-1. And we're heading into the last 5 minutes. So, yeah. The optimism and encouragement and excitement of a week and a half ago, it has come back a little bit towards Sir Jim. Qatar is still 2-1 up, but I think the fact that the Glazers won't give them exclusivity just leaves the door open for another goal for Sir Jim. And it's just so bloody frustrating, isn't it? Eric Ten Hag loves Eriksen. You're all crazy. Watch, says Robert. Well, what's he going to do, Robert? Then, I mean, Robert, we all love your insights, but just watch. What's he going to do with Eriksen, Bruno, and Mount? He can't start them all, so we will watch. And you can't spend £60 million on a player that's going to go on the bench. United trade got suspended. Win for us. We will win games, says Massacre. After all this sale fiasco, messing with this transfer window, I can't imagine the backlash if Sir Jim ends up winning and helping the Glazers to stay, says Roberto. Casemiro was a completely unexpected signing last season. Any shouts for a similar signing this season, says the most August Cesar. And how fast would we get the striker in after the Mount deal goes through, says Kevin. What a great question that is by Kevin, actually. And United, Elijah, we've welcomed you to the club. I think with once the Mason Mount deal gets done, the exciting thing for a lot of people is that we've got to move on to another deal because we can't do more than one deal at a time. So where we go next must be the striker. Højlund and Muani are both on holiday at the moment and will be back in training with their teams in the second week of July. United go on tour third week of July. So we are still really 3.5, 4 weeks away from United going on tour. So if you did get Mason Mount done over the weekends, he can hold the shirt up when he comes back from holiday. That doesn't matter. You can move on to your striker. There was somebody said that they live in the US and they were going to go to one of the games, but they're not going to bother because we won't have any new signings. Amongst the shits of the sale and the incompetence of the summer transfer window, I still do believe if you are going to watch games in America, you will see 2, probably 3 signings, maybe 4, but 3 I think you will see. If you want their names, no one's going to get this right, but if you want the names of the 3 players you'll see, Mason Mount, Rasmus Højlund and Rabiot. Because Rabiot has to make his decision in early July, because that's when he's free. And free agents don't wait till August. So if we're getting Rabiot, we'll have him in early July. We're going to get Mason Mount very, very soon. And the striker's got to be in because Erik ten Hag has said to the club, I have to have a striker on tour. We don't create enough chances. I need my wide players and my number 10 to learn to create for a striker. And I need that striker learning with them. So I think we'll have a striker on the tour. I think we'll have Mason Mount on the tour. And if we're getting Rabiot, he'll be on the tour as well. So you'll have 3. Don't you think it's 2-0 up, but the Glazers are adding extra 10 minutes every time one scores? The CGI. I like that one. You could be right about that. Massacre Promotions is a member now. Rory says, what are your thoughts on Mount agreeing a 200k a week deal, which was the same Chelsea offered? Also, if it is 50 plus 5, we've not overpaid and it's a good deal from United, says Rory. As I said this morning, 200k a week for Mason Mount is probably what Chelsea were offering him. It's probably a little bit more than he's worth, but it's probably reasonable. And 50 million is probably reasonable as well with 1 year left on it. It's a reasonable deal. I don't think people have a problem with the wages or the fee. I think people have a problem that they don't really want Mason Mount, and also he's basically a Chelsea boy. And I think he can overcome those things. They're not my problems, by the way. I'm quite positive about it because it's what Erik ten Hag wants. Is Mount sharing position with Eriksen or Bruno? Off the ball, what is his defensive discipline, says Christopher. Mason Mount at his best is a really intelligent passer and shooter, and I can't believe I'm using passer and shooter as words. Look, he's very good in the transition. He's very good with the ball at his feet when you're attacking. He moves the ball very quickly. He can thread a pass. And he's also fantastically good in the press when you haven't got the ball. And he's very, very mobile. There's 3 things that Eriksen isn't. So I think Mason Mount's an upgrade on Eriksen in relation to his physicality and his speed across the ground. I go silent because I don't know where he's going to fit into the team. He might play him off the right. He might play him at 10. He might move Bruno to 8. He might play him at 8. I don't know how it will work. But Ten Hag clearly knows how it's going to work because he's prioritised this signing first. Where would you play? Where would Mason Mount play once signed? Says Said. Well, I think I've just answered that. And just finished getting my tickets for Vegas. Going to stay with some friends and enjoy the game. Hopefully I see you there and can buy you a beer. Says Z3. Thank you very much, mate. And I know the reasons why Rabiot could be an option, but does he have the mindset? You often talk about the Erik ten Hag needs his players to have to compete, says Stephen Rossi. Look, if we go back to what we were talking about, that at some point Erik ten Hag will buy people who flop. If I had to pick who would flop, who were being linked to strongly at the moment, I think Rabiot. I don't think he has performed anywhere in his career for more than a season. He's capable of... I thought he was fantastic in the World Cup. But I think there's big question marks about Rabiot. You know, if he's not in the team, and you know, I worry about him. But I'd rather we got him than nobody, because we desperately need to get somebody in. Massacre says, I get paid really well, so I can afford these random questions. I'm excited to see Isaac in pre-season. Who do you think could get Garnacho treatment? Nice weather. So, by the way, says Massacre Promotions. Thank you very much. I think the Glazers are wanting one of those never-ending penalty shootouts so they can crank up the pressure with each penalty, says Glennie. I mean, I keep getting dragged into the sale, but how can you not know whether you want to sell the club completely or stay? I don't know. That's the sort of indecisive prats we're dealing with. Garnacho, number 7 shirts. Probably should have mentioned it a little bit sooner. There's been a hint from Manchester United that he will be the new number 7 for Manchester United. It's generated a little bit of a debate in the fan base about whether he is and should become number 7. I think that United says it's way too soon, and too early, says Zach. Travis says it's bullshit. Raj says it's too early. The thing is that I'll say something then. Okay, we haven't had a number 7 since Ronaldo. You cannot retire the number 7 shirt until somebody is good enough to wear it, because then you put more pressure on it. Somebody's got to wear it next season. And what people forget is the number 7 has a lot of romance. It has a lot of prestige. But we have had some shit players wear it over the years. It's not always had Beckham or Cantona or Robson in it or Ronaldo. It has over the years had people like Michael Owen in it. Memphis wore it. So, in some ways, not everybody who wears it is scintillating. So, I think it's just important that somebody has it. It doesn't mean you're a superstar. It doesn't mean you're world class. So we can't retire it. We can't keep it vacant. Somebody's got to wear it. And if I'm absolutely honest, it probably is a bit too early for Garnacho. But you're going to give it Sancho? No. You give it Anthony? He doesn't need that pressure at the moment. He's got to break. He's got to hit the ground running, Anthony, next year. Maybe you could give it Anthony. Personally, I don't have a problem with Garnacho having it, because I think he's probably the most worthy to wear it at the moment. I mean, look, Marcus Rashford could wear it, but I really don't think Rashford should be changing his number again. Do you think we'll get a French centre-back this summer, says Darren? Yes, I think we're going to get the Monaco one. Kirish says it's too soon for Garnacho. Better to give it to Sancho and 25 to Garnacho. Oh, Kirish, do not give it to Sancho. Absolutely do not. I mean, Sancho's been here 2 years. He doesn't deserve it. I wouldn't give it to Sancho. I mean, if you give it to Sancho, you're just giving it to it's Jesse Lingard FC, isn't it? He's getting it for his brand. He's not getting it for his football. There's got to be an element of earning it. I wouldn't give it to Sancho, no. I like Sancho, but I wouldn't give him the number 7 shirt. He hasn't deserved it. He hasn't earned it. And I think it puts more pressure on him anyway. I wouldn't give it to him. Maybe give it him in a year, but I wouldn't give it him now. But they might do. Wasn't too early for Madrid to give Bellingham the Zidane shirt. Just give it to the lad. Let's celebrate talent, says Nick P. As I say, I don't disagree with people who say it's too early to give him the number 7 shirt, but who deserves it more? He's had a breakout season. He's done really well. He came on in the FA Cup final for more senior players and was the one who made things happen against the best team in the world, Man City. How much more do you want to give him? How much more has he got to do to give him that shirt? I'd give him that shirt. I think it's empowering, and I think he would wear it and it would fit him. I would give it him, because I can't think of anyone else I would give it to. You can't give it Sancho. Rashford should not wear a number 7 shirt. Bruno should not wear a number 7 shirt. Anthony, has got to just focus on himself this season. So give it to Garnacho. I think why not? Is it true Donny van der Beek might be transfer listed, says Victor. Also, if we want Kane, we should swap Sancho for Kane, says Victor. They can't afford his wages, mate, at Spurs. Rory Francis, welcome to the Members Club. And Zion says, sometimes there is just a feeling when something feels right. That's how it feels with Garnacho wearing the number 7. I think they are going to give it him. And I think they should give it. And in fact, let's do a poll. David says, Mark, the Glazers stale story reminds me of Shahzaid and the King. She told him a different story for 1,000 nights. I don't know that story, David, and I've probably ruined the name. Shahin says, second season is always challenging. Garnacho doesn't need more pressure because of the number 7. One of the new signings can get it. Maybe do a poll on it, says Shahin. Well, I think he's the best player in the squad to get it at the moment. Jose says, I thought we all agreed a transfer free with Rabiot last time, but turned us down because of his wages. I fear how much we would offer him this time. Yeah, Jose, he turned us down for greed. Yeah. Do you see us being an Ajax-like possession team, or more so of what we saw last season? What improvements are we expecting from the team, says Eddie. Look, Erik ten Hag achieved what he achieved last season in amazing circumstances by getting us to play a style of football that he doesn't want to play. He wants to play the way that he played at Ajax, which is 70% possession and over 10 shots on target per game. And we very rarely did that last season. That is what he's aiming to do. He is not going to go and keep doing what he did last year. There has to be an evolution. And he will try and bring players in that allow him to evolve. The goalkeeper makes a difference. More movement from the number 8 makes a difference. An actual striker makes a difference. Another midfielder that can play the Casemiro role makes a difference. So he will try and do it. He will try and do it. I don't see Wan-Bissaka getting the number 7 shirt, says Robert McCormack. And maybe he wants to play Mount as a false 9, says Elliot. I don't think Mason Mount's a false 9. If you ask Chelsea fans, I don't think I'd be up for that one. 71% of you would give Garnacho the number 7 shirt, by the way, which is interesting. What's this message I've just had? Just another question. I just had a DM about the... Basically, I just had a DM saying, how much longer do you think the sale process is going to go on? Look, I think a lot of people know where we're at. I think you're all intelligent people. I think if I said to you it will be done by next week, you'd know I was talking shit. Because I don't know. But the most important thing is nobody else knows. We could be having this conversation at Christmas. We could be having this conversation in August. We might not be having this conversation next week. We might have a new owner. I don't think anybody knows. And I think what the Rain Group are doing and what the Glazers are doing is playing a game. And it's called a greedy game. And you know what? If you want an analogy in what's happening, Man United are a sick animal. We're sick. We're not very well. And our owners won't take us to the vets. They won't let us have any medication. They won't. Because they've got their reasons, because they're greedy, because they're selfish, but they're just withholding the medication that this football club needs for their own selfish needs. And that's where we're at. We shouldn't try and wrap it up in any other way. This football club is sick. It's ill. It needs a lot of comfort and care. And I'd love to say different. I'd love to say it doesn't really matter. I'd love to say we'll be fine. But we won't be fine. This summer transfer window needed to be a star. And it simply cannot be when we're in this situation. So I don't think any of you sympathise with the Glazers or think they're good guys anyway. But I mean, they've literally taken us into a massively important transfer window and fucked it. That's what they've done. That's what they're doing. For their own personal greed. They own a football club that's back in the Champions League and could be competing next season for major prizes. But they won't let it because they're thinking about how much money they can earn. They own something that could be amazing, and they're going, don't care how much money, what's in it for us. And that's who they are. And they walk around with their shitty ponytails and their stupid smiles, and they are in footballing terms evil. They're evil. That's why when they put them on the telly at the FA Cup final, it irritates people to the bone, because there is nothing fundamentally good about them when it comes to their impact on Manchester United. They drag it down. They're dragging it down. And this summer transfer window, which should have been full of promise and hope and progression for a manager that's done a good job, is actually the Glazers dragging it down again. And why are they dragging it down? For their own personal gain. And they've done it year after year after year. We won't fix the Old Trafford. We'll let it rust because we don't want to spend any money. We'll take dividends out and we won't spend as much on the transfer window because we want money. We'll keep it in debt like we always have because we don't want to spend money. And we'll mess the summer transfer window up for the new owners because we want more money. It's what it's all about. Do you think we'll see Mason Greenwood on tour, says Mr. Incredible? I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. Never mind number 7. We need a new number 5. So Stephen Ross E. And I don't see. I've done that one as well. Do you think Varane gets number 4 now after Phil Jones has left, says Arturo? I would have thought so. And the Snail says, pray Ten Hag works another miracle next season and gets us top 4 again. Hopefully build with Qatar starting next summer. The problem is, Snail, is that we got top 4 last year because Liverpool and Chelsea were shit. It only takes one of them to be better, and that's probably going to push us out of the top 4 because Newcastle are still going to be there. It's going to be harder to get top 4 next year. As I said a couple of nights ago, we had a great season, but even now, I feel we got away with it a little bit. There wasn't that many scintillating performances. We worked ridiculously hard. We went on some brilliant runs, but we ground out so many brilliant results. We sort of got away with it through our own hard work and graft and consistency. Could you do that again? Can you just graft top 4 again? I don't know. I don't think we could get top 4 next. If we played exactly the same next season as we did last season, I don't think we'll get top 4 because I think Liverpool will be better. I think Chelsea will be better. And I think Newcastle are going to be better. And Arsenal and Man City aren't going to go anywhere anyway. So, yeah, I think it'd be difficult. I think it's so important that we improve. Should Garnacho wear number 7? 67% of you said yes. And Mark, what do you hope for in the new season, says Rory. I mean, it's very difficult, Rory. What do any of us hope for next season? I mean, I don't know. I want to go deep in the Champions League and I want to challenge Man City for the title. That was my aim at the end of the season. When you finish 3rd and you qualify for the Champions League, we're Manchester United. You know, my standard is that we should be winning the Premier League every year. That's where I want us to get back to. Realistically, I think progression from last year, and I think Eric Ten Hag would agree, when you finish 3rd, you want to finish 2nd. And if you're finishing 2nd, you want to push for 1st. And when you're in the Champions League, you want to go semi-final at least. So that's what I want to do. Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult on what we're hearing at the moment. I mean, this constant financial fair play bollocks, which I was moaning about this morning, makes it very difficult because it's just an excuse coming out of the club. Never trust a man who's balding but insists on wearing a ponytail, says Stephen. The square root of 49 is 7, or 7 square is 49. Garnacho wears 49. I think he is already preparing to wear the number 7, says Beacle. My G said, asked about Disassi, wanted to know thoughts. Who would you like, King, says Massacre. I want Kim Min-jae. And I think mid-table are worth it if we get Qatari owners, says Espen. I think he's saying he'd take mid-table if it meant we got Qatari owners. Well, look, we've come towards the end of the show. Don't forget, I'll be live again in tomorrow morning, but I would say that can I just say I think Declan Rice is going to Arsenal. It's got nothing to do with United. United aren't even in the race. But I keep saying to people, Declan Rice to Arsenal. Declan Rice to Arsenal. Declan Rice to Arsenal. Let's see what happens. I don't think Di Marzio's right, basically. I forgot what I was going to say. This could be, might not be what you want, might be what you want. At the end of the day, it's a signing. We could get a here we go. We could get a deal done with Mason Mount in the next 24 hours. Let's wait and see. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Don't forget, if you are a member, you've got an hour of United Stand on tour, Goldbridge on stage, stand-up bridge. The second half came out a couple of hours ago. When we were on tour in Dublin a couple of weeks ago, the second half of that show is now up on YouTube on the members section. Give it a watch. A lot of people have enjoyed it who've watched the first part and now watched the second part. It's free for you if you're a member. If you want to become a member, click the members button and click a join. I'll speak to you all in a little bit. Thanks for it. I love the show tonight. Really good opinions again. Big shout out to Massacre. And let's speak tomorrow. Take care. Unless we speak tonight.